सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। आज नए व्याख्यान को लेके हम 6 सितंबर को आप सभी के सामने उपस्थित है और आज का व्याख्यान बहुत अच्छा रिलेवेंट है और मैं समझती हूँ कि जब भी बहुत सारे वैद्य को और क्लिनिशियन को ऐसा लगता है कि हमारी अच्छी दवाई के बावजूद भी क्यों हमें रिजल्ट नहीं मिल रहा है, तो मैंने अपनी क्लिनिकल प्रैक्टिस में देखा कि हमेशा उसमें विरुद्ध आहार उस पेशेंट के द्वारा पूर्वोक्त समय में किया गया है। तो कहीं ना कहीं वो हमारी वर्तमान समय की जो औषध चिकित्सा का व्यवस्था पत्र है उसकी एफिकेसी को कहीं ना कहीं एग्जीक्यूट नहीं करने देता और कहीं ना कहीं हम बहुत सारे हर्डल्स का ऐसे परेशानी का सामना करते हैं। तो आज का बहुत अच्छा टॉपिक है विरुद्ध आहार देन एंड नाउ, ए क्लिनिकल इंपॉर्टेंस इन द डायग्नोसिस। हम किस तरीके से इसको उपयोग ले सकते हैं। तो आज के स्पीकर का मैं आपके सभी के सामने सबसे पहले परिचय रखना चाहूंगी। और श्रद्धावान लभते ज्ञानम बहुत ही अच्छा वाक्य है, बहुत अच्छी उसमें डीप नॉलेज इस वाक्य में भी छिपी हुई है कि जब हम श्रद्धावान होकर करते हैं कार्य तो कहीं ना कहीं हमें ज्ञान रूपी फल मिलता है। आज के हमारे स्पीकर है डॉक्टर शशिकांत जी हिरेमठ। आप अभी वर्तमान समय में एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर एंड हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ द संहिता और सिद्धांत संजीवनी आयुर्वेदिक मेडिकल कॉलेज एंड हॉस्पिटल हुबली में अभी वर्तमान समय में आप कार्य कर रहे हैं। आपने अपनी बीएमएस की पढ़ाई डीजीएम आयुर्वेदिक कॉलेज गडग कर्नाटका से की हुई है। आपने एमए संस्कृत भी की हुई है मैसूर कर्नाटका से और आपने एमडी संहिता एवं सिद्धांत में 2014 में राजीव गांधी यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ हेल्थ साइंसेज कर्नाटका में आयुर्वेदिक महाविद्यालय हुबली से आपने पूरा किया है। अभी आप पादुर यूनिवर्सिटी से अपनी पीएचडी परस्यू कर रहे हैं। आपका अलग अलग जगह पर एज अ असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर शुरुआत में आपका टीचिंग एक्सपीरियंस रहा जिसमें श्री जगत गुरु गविशी
गवि सिद्धेश्वर
गविशी देशेश्वर आयुर्वेद कॉलेज आयुर्वेद मेडिकल कॉलेज कोप्पल में रहा। उसके बाद श्री जीबी गुट्टल आयुर्वेदा मेडिकल कॉलेज धारवाड़ में भी आपने अपनी सेवाएं दी और उसके पश्चात आपने हुबली में SAMCH में अपनी एज अ असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर दी। उसके बाद आपका एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर पे चयन हो गया जहां वर्तमान समय में आप कार्य कर रहे हैं। आपने बहुत सारे RGOHS बेंगलोर जोनल का वर्कशॉप जो NCISM का सिलेबस बनाने में अपनी भूमिका निभाता है, संहिता एवं संस्कृत में संहिता सिद्धांत एवं संस्कृत में उसमें आपने पार्टिसिपेट किया। आपने पदार्थ विज्ञान के अलग अलग जगह पे बहुत सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज में पेपर्स भी सेट किए। आपने शॉर्ट टर्म रिसर्च ग्रांट्स बहुत अच्छा एक मैं समझती हूँ अभी CCRS के द्वारा भी शुरू किया गया है, उसमें भी आपने अलग अलग समय पे रिसर्च करवाया हुआ है। 2022-23 में यूजी स्टूडेंट्स को आगे बढ़ाने की रिसर्च का एक झांकी करवाने की जो एक परंपरा है वो भी बहुत अच्छी है, जिसमें आपने कॉन्सेप्चुअल एंड ऑब्जर्वेशनल स्टडी ऑफ समयोग विरुद्ध आहार एज अ निदान इन द कॉजेटिव फैक्टर निदान इन द कॉजिंग किटीब कुष्ठ में आपने किया था। उनको यूजी स्टूडेंट्स को गाइड और ऐसे ही एक दूसरा भी है जो आपने रिसर्च गाइड की है, प्रिवलेंस ऑफ द क्षुधा वेग धारण इन द हाउसवाइफ्स ए क्रॉस सेक्शनल सर्वे स्टडी। सही में जो वेग धारण है सभी प्रकार के उसमें भी बहुत अच्छी एक बार फिर से रिसर्च को पुनरावर्तित करने की जरूरत है और वो भी आपने किया है। एज अ को-ऑथर में देख रही थी आपके बहुत सारे पब्लिकेशंस एंड रिसर्च आर्टिकल्स है जिसमें ISBN नंबर के साथ भी है और मैं देख रही थी 7 से ज्यादा आपके अलग अलग जगह पे हैं। मैं ब्रीफ में ही उसमें आपको बता रही हूँ। आपके अवार्ड्स और अप्रिसिएशंस भी मैं देख रही थी कि आपको हमेशा नेशनल लेवल ऐसे राइटिंग में फर्स्ट प्राइज, बेस्ट पेपर प्रेजेंटेशन में भी आपने अवार्ड प्राप्त किया है। यू हैव गोट ऑल्सो अप्रिसिएशन फॉर द धारवाड़ डिस्ट्रिक्ट आयुष डिपार्टमेंट गवर्नमेंट ऑफ कर्नाटका और ऑर्गेनाइज्ड डिफरेंट सेमिनार्स में भी आपका बहुत अच्छा कर्तृत्व है। आपने एज अ गेस्ट लेक्चर, गेस्ट स्पीकर बहुत सारी जगह पे अपना उत्तरदायित्व निभाया है, और सीएमईज भी आपने, आरओटीपी भी बहुत सारी जगह आपने प्रेजेंट की है। तो ब्रीफ में मैं आपका बायोडेटा सबके सामने रखने की कोशिश की है, और ऐसे विद्वान स्पीकर को आज हम विरुद्ध आहार के ऊपर सुनेंगे, और मुझे समझ में आता है कि बहुत सारे लोग उससे लाभान्वित होंगे और अपने अपनी प्रैक्टिस में इसको क्लिनिकली अप्लाइड फॉर्म में लाने की कोशिश करेंगे। ओवर टू यू डॉक्टर शशिकांत जी, बहुत बहुत हार्दिक स्वागत है आपका।
Thank you, madam. And before starting my presentation, I would like to thank Dr. Hetal, madam, and Vishwa Ayurved Parishad NIA Jaipur for giving me an opportunity to share this knowledge. As you all know, that online lecture series is instinct way of sharing our knowledge or experiences that has developed since the era of Corona. So even though Corona was a more infectious disease or whatever it may be there, but it has taught humanity to invent or to adapt to the many conditions that are going to be helpful for learning purpose for whatever reasons it may be there. So with that brief gratitude towards the organizers, today I have chosen a topic that is Viruddhahara, which is one of the fundamental concepts that has been more neglected in teaching classes. As a part of syllabus, we may just present it and we may ignore it, but most of the times we forget to carry that concepts to the clinical level. That is what my presentation is going to concentrate more on that. With that, we are going to see Viruddhahara, how it was presented in those days. So whenever we come across with the Samhita, we are going to see the examples that are given, which were prevalent in those days. So as you all know that Ayurveda has got a history of 5,000 or above years of duration of history. So as you are going to see that every year there is a lot of changes that we are going to see in the total environment, and particularly region to region, it is going to vary. Then you can just imagine that how much difference it might have brought since 5,000 years. So whatever the examples that are given in Samhitas were relevant in those days. So taking consideration into the concept and examples presented in those days, that is what we call it as Viruddha Aahara then. Now comparing to today's lifestyle, which has vastly, immensely has been dominated with the modern gadgets and all those things, and that has led to the lot of in our day-to-day life, particularly in the food habits, it has bottom revolution, we would like to say. So how much it has impacted in causing disturbances of the doshas in the sharira is all my presentation. So considering the examples, considering the things which we are involved in today's lifestyle, those things have to be admired, or those things have to be rechecked whenever you are going to attend cases at your clinical level. With that, you are going to see throughout the presentation that examples which we forget to ask to the patients. So before going into the details of those examples, just slightly let us brush up the concept that has been presented in our classics. And here I have a reference of definition given by Charaka, where it states or it quotes that yat kinchi dosham asravyam na nirharati kayataha ahara jatam tat sarvam ahitaya upapadyate. So food or drinks, or even to the extent medicines, which does the dislodgement of the doshas from its site, from its sthana, but does not expel it out. That means completely sharirataha nirharan, it is not being done by this ahara. That means to some extent we can correlate that these are slow acting poisons. So that definition is very, very important, which states na nirharati, but dosha dushti is going to be seen. So with this basic definition by Charaka, and the same opinion is given by the Ashtanga Hridayakara, given by Sushrutakara. So when we see the root word meaning of this Viruddha in general, that means it is originated from Panini root, where it says Srudir Avarani. By applying the prefix V, that is, on combining two or three things, the stronger one shades or overpowers the weaker ingredients, whether it may be a combination of food ingredients or whether it may be a food recipe, whatever it may be, it is a combination. So when you are going to combine the two or more things, combination comes only when there is a concept of two. So two or more things are going to involve, then automatically the stronger one, whether it is good or bad, so whether it is a positive quality or whether it is a negative quality, it is going to overshade or overpower the weaker ingredients. So what is the effect of this is all about the Viruddhahara concept that has been very beautifully scientifically explained by our acharyas. So apart from that, if when you're trying to understand the general definition, so as a concept, it may be explained in one or two chapters or some references. But apart from that, when you are going to study individually as a disease, you may not get the reference directly as Viruddha many of the times. Sometimes you may get, sometimes you may not get. But these terms, apart from Viruddhahara, these terms which are correlated to Viruddhahara or Viruddha concepts have to be considered so that we can understand more detailedly in giving concentration regarding the diagnosis of a case. So ananukula or pratikula word you might have come across in particularly when you are going to study the drugs or a combination of drugs formulations where you are going to study. So that means ananukula or pratikula, having an adverse effect or unfavorable, is also some sort of viruddhata. Anapaya yukta, that is unpropitious, which is not used or which is not going to be beneficial in a way that body requires. That is what the word defines. Or even pratisiddha, which is prohibited. So that word strictly indicates that it is not going to be accustomed to the body. So you need to avoid it. That is what the word meaning says. And apatya, of course, apart from Viruddhahara, you might have or we might come across in Samhitas a lot of the word apatya. And even ahita also, which is not beneficial for the body, and it may include parushita ahara, klina ahara, vishamashana, adhyasana, etc. So we'll see later on how these terms are going to fit in Viruddha concepts and all. So basically, when we see the textual references, classifications, according to Charaka, there are 18 types, and according to Shushruta, there are 10 types are there. So here, when we see the Charaka's classifications, we have this list, that is Desa Viruddha, Kala Viruddha, Krama Viruddha, Parihara Viruddha, Upachara Viruddha, Paka Viruddha, Samyoga Viruddha, Hrd Viruddha, Sampat Viruddha, Vidhi Viruddha, Dosha Viruddha, Agni Viruddha, Matra Viruddha, Satmya, Samskara, Virya, Koshta, Avastha. So this simply, it is not a list that is to be made big. It has been given by Charaka like that. As you all know that Charaka is known for Charakastu Chikitsate. So he is the one who is very supreme as a physician. He is considered as a supreme in Chikitsaka, Kaya Chikitsaka Parampara. So this list itself shows that how deeply he has gone into the concepts of understanding the things that are going to be beneficial or non-beneficial to the Sharira, and has set a lot of examples. Like that, we get a lot of concepts where he has given more importance. So Viruddhahara is one such concept. So 18 types of Viruddharas detailing becomes a very important one, because not every person will be indulging in only one Viruddharas. One or the other will be different things are there. So this hands-on knowledge regarding the classifications is also very important. Now we'll see one by one, and before that we'll see what are the classes, the classifications given by the Shushruta. Since he is a Shalyakarta, but still he has given Viruddhahara indirectly, where you find as a reference that Ekanta Ahita Ahara, under the heading of Ekanta Ahita Ahara, where he has given the 10 types of Viruddhahara: Samyoga Viruddha, Karma Viruddha, Mana Viruddha, Rasa Virya, Vipaka, Desha, Kala, Matra, and Atishaya Guna Yogatya Viruddha. So these are the lists that is given by the classifications given by the Shushruta. So when we try to understand Charaka's list of 10 Viruddhas, 18 Viruddhas, we will see one by one that are given Some of the examples I have kept which were there in classical, but at the same time they are being practiced even today also. So those examples I have kept it as it is only. So you may find the same references here. So Desha Viruddha, when we are going to see, that is particularly when we take honey with in a heated condition. So we don't see much of the people indulging in that way of directly heating the honey and heating and eating it. But adding with some hot substance is what that is going to be causing the disturbances. So honey with hot water, nowadays it has become a more trend like system. So every day morning, those who want to reduce the weight and all, some known personalities, all those things, people come on the TV shows and all. They say that this is going to be helpful to reduce weight and all. But to what extent it has to be taken, how much quantity it has to be taken, with what supervision it has to be taken, nobody tells that. So when we are going to see that aspect of unawareness, then it becomes a very important one. So that is why it becomes a very relevant to educate the masses regarding the honey intake by heating or in a hot water is not advisable, because honey has a heating property, and at the same time, as you know, that Ushna and Tikshna and Karshana property is there. Ushna Viryata is there, Madhu. So even though it is Madura in taste, but it is still it is having got Ushna Viryata. So that is the reason why it is being coming up. So being in a Desha which is hot regions and consuming honey, there also it is going to cause a thing. So now when you try to analyze the Desha Viruddha, then it becomes a very difficult one to understand with the concept that is given by Samhita. But when you try to analyze with the current scenario, spicy and pungent foods, or even those examples apart from honey, are aristas consumed by a person in a region with tropical climate. So as in tropical climate, there will be more humidity, and at the same time, there will be more temperature is going to be seen. So that is also going to cause a lot of problem in that way. So, and even hair wash on a daily basis by the people living in Tamil Nadu, as done by the people living in Kerala, is again a Desha Viruddha, because when you are going to see both the states, even though they are neighboring states, there is a lot of difference between these two states. One is more thickly forested area and all, which comes under the Western Ghats as the end part of the Western Ghats, Kerala, whereas you don't see it in the Tamil Nadu aspect. So there again, this sort of practice which is done in Kerala is not advisable in Tamil Nadu, and in Tamil Nadu, what is advisable is not done in Kerala. So that is what the things we need to concentrate more. And with imported shrimps or pathogens like E. coli and Salmonella and filth are common in that area. That is awesome. So recently, the National Meat Inspection Service has warned there is a high health risks in imported frozen meat. So frozen meat is being consumed more in the public domain. We are going to see lot. And that is also a very one thing which is you need to educate your patients, particularly if they are addicted to such sort of eating habit. Next comes the Kala Viruddha. Kala Viruddha, here we can understand in four aspects. Rutu Anusarena, or Aharatre Anusarena, or Vaya or Ahara. So different entities have to be considered in that regard, where according to Rutu, we have to change our food habits. So if you are not eating according to that Rutu and considering other Rutu food, means it is again Kala Viruddha. Ahoratri, as you all know that according to day and night, morning, some food have to be taken in the morning hours, some food have to be taken in the night hours. If you are going to interchange these food articles to be taken, even including the time and all those things, that is also going to be a very important one. And next comes the via according to our age. Okay, according to our age, the quantity, the variety of food also should be changed. If they are not going to be according to our via, then that becomes the Kala Viruddha. And Ahara, the seasonal Ahara is to be defined properly nowadays, because Ahara means not always a prepared or processed or cooked food. Even a natural available vegetables, fruits, everything comes under the class of Ahara itself only. So the seasonal eating of fruits is very, very advisable. but non-seasonal, converting them and preserving them and all, we'll see it later on in other variety also. So those also becomes a very important one, causing the disturbances if you are going to eat the ahara not according to kala. So the example what I have given here is, so commonest example what we bahut in our uh, classes is that, or what we teach is that curds should not be nanaktam nadi bunjita. Okay, so everyone bites it, but I don't see 99% of people following it. Particularly even the Ayurvedic doctors, or it may be Ayurvedic students, we don't stress upon the things that are being taught for a healthy living. So we forget that we also need a healthy living lifestyle, but we forget. We keep on teaching, but we never practice a lot of them. Maybe the percentage of practice may be very few people, but as far as my experience goes, many of us we don't follow these things, so they need to be rechecked properly and followed. So why curd is not advised in the night? As you all know that it is a kafakara ahara and it is kafakala, tamasa prakriti is there, so automatically it is going to disturb the things. So it is not advised in the night. And a few more examples of Kala Viruddha according to current scenario, when we are going to see, it is consuming mangoes in the seasons other than summer, as I told already. So we are going to convert them into a different form, and we are going to add some preservatives, and we are going to keep it them. So automatically the natural quality of those food or mangoes is going to be disturbed. So that disturbed qualities, how much it is going to harm and all, we are not going to see instinctively. We'll see later on. We are not going to see instinctively how it is going to cause, how much damage it is going to cause. So that is also the thing that is not advisable one. And as it is an evolution of technology everywhere, even in nights also we have got a lot of gadgets to have a light and all those things, that is making a man to involve in more night outs, for it may be for the reason of work, or it may be for the passion of doing party, all those things. So that trend of waking in the night just because of having ample of light, artificial light, is becoming more and more rigorous. So that has also hampered a lot of the things. So it is also Kala Viruddha. And nowadays it is becoming a more trend where we see older people doing lot of strenuous exercises in gyms. So according to that, via in older people, Vyayama is Nishidha, but they do it. That is becoming more and more. So you need to caution your, at least your grandparents, or at least we should caution our grandparents, particularly in that regard, so that it is going to be uh, linked. And consuming stale and spoiled food by unaware. So the people will be more unaware regarding the stale food and spoiled food, or maybe the poverty, or the people who are under the poverty line and all, they may be forced, or they may be in a condition to eat that sort of food. So that is also again a Kala Viruddha. So these are some of the examples that I have depicted here. Burgers or pizzas, how they are going to play an important role. So burgers, particularly being made of meat product, contain high saturated fats, instigates higher cholesterol levels in the blood, which can lead to heart disease and obesity, especially in children. So now you can see a recent study in America. The one among the top 5 cause of death is cardiac diseases. So somewhere, if you go deep into the research of that, we may find this Viruddhahara as a playing a very important role in that death rate. So that is the food habit in the Western country that has dominated and invaded even in India also. So now in metropolitan cities, or semi-metropolitan cities, this trend of eating burgers and pizza is becoming more and more. Slowly, India is also taking the rank of obesity, or rank of even heart disease, or rank of even diabetes. So you have to see the transition of lifestyle that has led to the diseases that are seeing more with prevalence rate in even India. So the why pizza and all burgers are not advisable because of these containing high saturated fats. As you know that pizza is an Italian food made of whole wheat, based topped with margarine or mozzarella, etc., proves harmful to children. Now children are being more accustomed to that sort of food. So we should be aware or educate the children regarding these aspects of food habits, which are causing the lack of immunity in the newer generation. As you know, we people are not as much as immunity having as much as our parents. Our parents were not having immunity as much as their parents. Now, newer generation, young generation, new to us, that is next generations or today's generations, are not having immunity, even though they may have a very good health, but immunity, when it comes to the question of immunity, they don't have that capacity. That has led to the depletion in even in lifespan also. Now, next, going on to the Agni Viruddha. Here, Agni is related to your Jataragni, and Ahara, which is relevant to our Jataragni, should be taken. If it is against to our Jataragni, then automatically it becomes Agni Viruddha. As you all know, that Jataragni is of three types. Okay, Mandagni, Tikshnagni, Mrudvagni, and even Samagni. Samagni is the for Swastha Purusha. So Swastha Purusha has got that sustenance capacity of eating all the things. But anyhow, this is going to play a very important role when it comes to the question of other sorts of Agni, where Mandagni or even Tikshnagni is. So Guruhara in Mandagni and Laguhara in Tikshnagni is an example of Agni Viruddha, because eating in accordance with one's appetite is best to maintain the good health. Now, next is the Krama Viruddha. Krama Viruddha is the one very important, which we forget it. What are the things we need to do before consideration of having food, or what are the things we need to do after they having food? So those things are very, very important to know. So Krama Viruddha explains all about that aspects. Consumption of food before the previous meal is digested without evacuation of malamutra is Krama Viruddha. And even when you are going to speak about Samashana or Adeshana or Vishamashana, there also the Krama is going to define, because Vishamashana is Vishama Matre, Vishama Kale. So Vishama Matre, Vishama Kale is Krama Viruddha. So sometimes you have unproportionate food. It may be because you may not require, your body may not require that much quantity, but still you are fond of that article, you eat more. If your body requires some food, but you don't like that article, you don't eat more. So this sort of matrata variation, Vishama Matra is Krama Viruddha only, and even Kala also. Vishama Kala is also Vishamashana, and even Adhyashana, Bhuktasya Upari Bhuktam. Okay, Bhuktasya Upari Bhuktam is before the digestion of previous food you are going to eat, or sometimes you will be having a Vega Dharana and having food. So these sort of things, practices are called as Krama Viruddha. And the reason for this Krama Viruddha, because the indigested food ferments and becomes toxic. So you are overlapping the food which has been already taken. Now, Agni Viruddha, when you are trying to see in current scenario, because even though people are more aware about nutritious food, everything, quantity also, sometimes or many of the times we tend to have the food for whatever the reasons. You see, we are already having a food, but to please somebody, we go along with them. If somebody invites us for the food, even though we are not feeling hungry, we go with them. So that is the reason we see sometimes. Or anyhow, we have taken the quantity in the plate more than the required. Why to waste it? Let us have the food. So that sort of attitude is also again will hamper your Agni. Or even paid event eating, what we call. So we go to movie, whether we feel to eat or whether we feel hungry or not, we don't consider. We are going to movie, so along with movie, we are eating popcorn, which may not be necessary. So that has become a trend. That what we call as a paid event eating, or feeling ill, sick, tired. Okay. So in that time, what happens in the majority of the time, Agni Mandata will be there, but sometimes we feel to have something. So this is also again Agni Viruddha, or eating by clock. So even though you don't feel hungry, it has time. Okay, अभी खाना खाने का वक्त हो गया, चलो हम खाना खाते. So that is what the things are trending, are becoming more things which are not aware by the public domain, that how much it is going to cause indigestion because of the impaired Agni. Furthermore, if we are going to see eating as an entertainment, okay, we see people every day they consider it as a eating chat as an entertainment. Today evening what we shall eat, tomorrow evening what we shall eat. The generations are thinking more about that way in as a evening snacks, that as an entertainment. or sometimes as a sadness food as a best friend. So I'm feeling somewhat disturbed. Let us go out and have food, something, or eat something. That is for others' sake. Okay, they have prepared some my best friend or parent, somebody has prepared for me. Let me have it, even though we don't feel hungry. So, or on holidays, that is the special occasions like party and all this. This sort the list goes on. Agni Viruddha, we can give many number of examples that we are doing or which we are following nowadays, or even reward eating. Okay, now they are somewhere in reels or in YouTube. We are going to see they are going to conduct a event there. So who is going to eat so much quantity of food? They will be rewarded. So that moment of event may be a joyous one for the person to who sees it, or for the person who eats it, participates it. But later on, the damage or the things, difficulties that person will undergo, only that person will come to know later, or chasing away the bad feelings. All these things are coming under the Agni Viruddha itself. Next comes the Matra Viruddha. So Matra Viruddha is Samapramana. Most of the best example we give is Ani and Gruta. Madhu and Gruta is the is the things that are going to cause, how much it is going to cause the disturbance. So Samapramana, even though it is being not advised, okay, Samapramana is not being advised, but as a clinical practices, somewhere we use it. Okay, that is why. Otherwise, it is not a common practice that is being seen in our day-to-day life. But anyhow, Samapramana is contraindicated because it is stimulates the production of histamines in the body, particularly these two. And the reasoning for honey and gruta not to be taken with the same quantity is because fats like ghee are absorbed through lymphatic circulation. Honey is absorbed by the hepatic circulation, whereas honey liberates pollen. When taken alone, the pollen is excreted. Whereas when honey is mixed with fats like ghee, it is passed through the lymphatic circulation. These pollens liberate substances called chylons, which stimulate the production of histamines. So that leads to sudden allergic reaction when taken in equal and large quantities. So that is the reason why these two are not being advised to be taken. Even this is a Samyoga Viruddha also. Madhu and Gruta is also Samyoga Viruddha, Matra Viruddha. It comes under both the examples. Next is the example of Matra Viruddha according to current scenario. So overeating and eating before the previous meal, addition I told in the previous examples of Viruddhahara. That is also Matra Viruddha, and drinking excess water. Okay, right immediately after food is also not advised properly, or even because nowadays it has become more trend that here and now the people in the TV shows and all, they say that everyone should drink 2 or 3 liters of water as soon as you wake up early in the morning. It cannot be generalized for everybody. Everybody cannot are advised to take 2 liters or 3 liters of water every day. So it varies according to person. So that is also a Matra Viruddha when you are going to consider. An improper assessment of dosage of Snehapana and thereby non-attainment of Sneha Siddhi Lakshana also because of Matrata, and less dilution of alcohol with water is also Matra Viruddha. Next comes the Satmya Viruddha, where Satmya is considered according to Deha and Desha. What is Satmya for my Deha and what is Satmya for my Desha? So Deha Satmya and Desha Satmya are considered under Satmya Viruddha itself only. Let us see the examples. Intake of Madura and Shita Ahara by a person who is used to take always pungent and hot food. So the person who is always used to Katu Ahara and Tikta Ahara, suddenly if he shift to Madura and Shita Ahara, then it becomes a Satmya Viruddha. Or because it is a habitual use, the body is accustomed to that region. You are being born and brought up in that region. So we have to eat food according to that region itself only. So if you are going to suddenly change according to different sthanas or different desha, then it is going to cause disturbances. So when we are trying to analyze the Satmya Viruddha according to current scenario, these examples we are going to see. People living in Kerala are habituated to have coconut oil as cooking medium. That is not seen in other parts. Most of the, not just Kerala, even the coastal belt of region, what particularly this Western Ghat, Karnataka, Kerala, or Goa, even to some extent Maharashtra region also. Those who are towards the coastal belt and all, their cooking media of food is coconut oil itself only. So that is not Satmya to other regions person. So whenever we consume in more often and oftenly that way of food, then it is going to cause disturbances. And people of Andhra are habituated to spicy and pungent food. So that sort of food is not being eaten by coastal belt people. So they are not going to sustain the spicy and pungent. So this is again a Satmya Viruddha. If that person eats this way or this person eats that way. So processed and frozen foods causing allergies in people of a particular country. So that is also comes under Satmya Viruddha. Next, very important one is the Samskara Viruddha, that has drastically should be seen in our today's the clinical practice, because as we see the evolution of man with gadgets and all, there is a lot of evolution even in preparation of food also. So Samskara Viruddha, one of the important Viruddhas when we are going to see the preparations of food articles. Now, the example what I have considered is boiling of takra. In some regions we see, or using of used oil for frying. So particularly these street food vendors or street food chat centers will be there. We don't know whether they are using daily a fresh oil or whatever it is. So majority of the things in hotels and all, we see the oil which is used already, that again it is. So double, triple, four bowl, we don't know. So that oil is, when it is subjected to many times for the Agni, automatically the sattva in the taila will be not there. So that is going to cause. So Samskara Viruddha will. That's so that disturbances or that vitiation in the oil is going to cause the impact on the food that is going to be processed or prepared from that oil. So now why? Because alteration in the nature of buttermilk. So takra should never be subjected. Even dadi also should not be subjected to ushna. That is Samskara Viruddha. That also comes. And oil undergoes harmful chemical changes if it is heated again and again. And particularly heating madhu changes its structure. So this is not being advisable. So Samskara Viruddha, when we are, why? Because with more scientific reason, I'm going to just justify why it is being called a Samskara Viruddha. Because buttermilk is rich in potassium, vitamin B12, phosphorus and calcium. So lactic acid is another vital ingredient of buttermilk. When it is heated, all these things are going to be harmed, or all this going to be vanished. So it is not permissible to heat buttermilk. So when oil is heated at 170 to 220 degrees Celsius, in the presence of oxygen, the oil undergoes chemical reactions that is going to take place. So hydrolysis or oxidation and polymerization is going to be seen. Whereas change in oil, what you are going to see is viscosity increases, color darkens, and rancidity develops. So that are the things that are going to change in the oil. That when food is prepared from this sort of oil, again it is going to have an impact on the food that is going to be prepared from it. So when honey is heated or mixed with hot water, its structure changes and becomes toxic. So that is what being on. So Samskara Viruddha, in current scenario, we can see the processes that are involved in food preparing, particularly food industry is the one which is booming more. Apart from health sector, that is medicinal pharmacy, next sector which is booming more is the food sector. So these all modern tools or modern way of preparing food come under the Samskara Viruddha. All just remember, these terms are very, very important to be known. Microwaving, roasting, grilling, stewing, frying, deep fat frying, broiling, and barbecuing all these come under current scenario of Samskara Viruddha. So we'll see one by one what these terms are going to be understood as. So grilling meats at high heat for long periods produces at least two types of carcinogens, chemicals linked to the risk of developing cancer. That is, carcinogens are nothing but the chemicals linked to the risk of developing cancer. And microwaving in infant formulas, there may be loss of some vitamins in expressed breast milk Some protective properties are lost by microwaving. Food samples of 8 people immediately after consuming microwaved food showed decreased hemoglobin levels. So these are very, very important for medical fraternity, doctor fraternity to think over these things so that we can educate our patients some more. Furthermore, when we are going to see fried and deep fried foods, the difference, high risk of heart, high risk of for high blood cholesterols and heart diseases, you are going to see when you are going to consume foods from deep fried. Our diets high in saturated fat and cholesterol tend to rise total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol level. Whereas broiling, the risk of formation of heterocyclic amines, most heterocyclic amines are well documented carcinogens. So broiling is going to lead to carcinogens. And barbecuing is also again heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are going to be liberated when the food is subjected to barbecue. So again, they are more tending towards the cause of cancer. So cheese, a dairy product obtained by coagulation of milk, that is samskara, which is not advised. Renin, lining of a stomach of calves is used to coagulate milk, turning them to cheese. And a scientific study conducted revealed traces of morphine in milk and dairy products, and the highest among them can be found in cheese. So that is why cheese is not advised. It comes under the Samskara Viruddha, but almost all your pizza, burgers, this sort of for everything is cheese, prepared under cheese, topplings, and again public demand extra cheese on that. So more fond of eating cheese is causing what the immunity what we see in younger generation. And homogenized milk, processed cheese come under the Samskara Viruddha. So Virya Viruddha, the best example what we remember from our classics is the Matsya and Dugdha, because two major protein sources should not be combined at any conditions. That is why it is Virya Viruddha, because both are protein, but Matsya is a Ushnavirya, having a Ushnaviryata, whereas Dugdha is having a Shita Viryata. So, but both come under the class of proteins itself, only calcium. But when we see the Viryata in them are opposite, so it should not be combined here. Why? Because fish and milk consumed together will stay longer than the needed in the digestive system and will start to rot. All the gases and toxins created in the process of digestion with the blood travel to different parts of our body and will cause severe health hazards in the long run. So that is why it is not advised. So Veera Viruddha in current scenario, we can see we never think about the meal that is being prepared. What are the ingredients it is there and what is the Veera in them. So we never think about all those things. So it is just like the picture that is being depicted here. So many things mixed is always a Virya Viruddha. And even we can take the examples of fruit salads also. Many of the fruits of today will be having, some will be Amla Rasa Pradhana, some will be having Madhura Rasa Pradhana, and added to that honey is added in them. So automatically a fruit salad is again Virya Viruddha, and milkshake is also again Virya Viruddha. So like that, n number of examples of today's practices I can give where you should be aware of. Next comes the Koshta Viruddha, almost similar in name that of Agni. Koshta is also relevant to more of Agni. So that because Agni is going to define the Koshta, Koshta is going to define the Agni. But anyhow, sometimes you should be also cautious regarding the Koshta, that is going to play important role in digestion. So the example administration of Mrudu Virechaka in a mild purgative in a small dose in a patients with hard ball, that is not going to work because it is a Mrudu Virechaka and the dose is also very less. And if it is Krura Koshta, then automatically it becomes Koshta Viruddha itself. So that medicine is not going to work. So you should be more cautious, particularly in the line of treatment. It is going to be not as a general public, but this Koshta concept, Koshta Viruddha concept is more relevant to the doctors in clinical practice. So you need to be more patient because patient digests the mild purgative usually and the action of drug is not exhibited. So Koshta Viruddha in present scenario, you can see Mrudu Koshta person taking high calorie or high protein diet. So that is what they going to hamper the thing. So drinking milk at nights after or just before the food is also Koshta Viruddha, because as you all know that Dugdha is very heavy for digestion. So at the night the digestive capacity is very less. So it is not advisable to have a milk in the night or just before the food. So that is also not advisable. Next comes the Avastha Viruddha, intake of Vatakara Ahara by a person whose Vata is already aggravated by exhaustion or sexual act. So, because of the Shramajanya or Maithuna Kriya, again Vata Vriddhi or Vata Prakopa is seen, or even in because of strenuous actions, again having a Vatakara Ahara is Avastha Viruddha. So, the condition is not permissible to have. So, you should be more cautious when you are having such type of food. Because Viruddhadi Samanaihi Sarvesham Viparitaihi Viparya. That's Vriddhi Samanai, you know very well. Vriddhi Samanai Sarvesham Viparitaihi Viparya. So Samana Bhavas are always going to cause the Prakopa, and Viparita Bhavas are always going to cause the Vishesha, that is depletion. So here Vatakara Ahara and Vatakara Kriya Vata Prakopa is in, then automatically again Vata Vriddhi is going to. So Avastha Viruddha is what defines all about that. Now, Avastha Viruddha, when you are going to see in the present scenario, so traveling and eating oily and junk foods at the same time. So that is not advisable. And excessive exercise by an aged person, because already they are Vata, and again excessive exercise leads to Vata Prakopa. So Avastha Viruddha. Smoking and consuming alcohol at the same time. Smoking is also, Vata Dushtikaraka, and even consuming oil is also Pitta Dushtikaraka. Both Vata Pitta are being doshana by these two things. So both taking together is Avastha Viruddha. It doesn't mean that separately we need to take. Both are not good for health if you are going to indulge more in them. And Parihara Viruddha is one very fine or the difficult one to understand, because what is Parihara here is what? So the things what we need to do after having food, if we don't do that, then it becomes Parihara Viruddha. So intake of hot things after taking pork. This is the example given in classics, which is not that much prevalently followed in today's lifestyle. But anyhow, we need to be aware of some of the things what we are going to do now. So why that example has been given? Because pork fat gets solidified on consuming hot water. So that is the reason why after having the sukara mamsa, you are not supposed to have or drink water. And when you see the Parihara Viruddha in current scenario, so habit of consuming desserts at the end of the meals, it's become, now desserts are also being taken in the beginning of the meals also. Okay. Beginning is okay to some extent, but after the food also again it is very difficult. So that is also going to cause a lot of disturbances in the body or in the digestion. So Adhyayana on the days of heavy rains, it's generally because the Tamasika Bhava will be more when it is raining or when it is thundering and natural calamities. So the concentration will be less. So you are not supposed to read. That is what the being given in classics. But anyhow, Adhyayana should be done every time. But anyhow, we need to look into the mind status also. Consumption of tea followed by iron-rich foods. So some parts of our country, consumption of tea is, as a beverages in the morning, early in the morning is a very commonest thing. But we neglect drinking of more water just before consuming of tea, or after the consuming of tea, drinking more water is also not advisable. Forget about high-rich foods. So these things come under the Parihara Viruddha. And next is the Upachara. Parihara and Upachara go hand in hand. We'll see how to understand the difference between these two. Upachara Viruddha, intake of cold water after the consumption of ghee. So that is Upachara Viruddha it becomes. As you all know that in Snehapana we advise the patient till the digestion of Snehana, you should keep on drinking Ushna Jala. So that becomes Upachara Viruddha. For other, Taila or Majja, the consumption is different, Upachara. Okay. Whereas it comes because Shita Jala causes shrotas of the body to clog. So Shrota Avarodha, it leads to the Shrota. As you know that when ghee is subjected to Shitata, automatically it solidifies. So automatically the Ghruta which is consumed. So when you are going to drink cold water, automatically it is going to solidify and block the channels. So that is the reason Upachara Viruddha, it is comes under the class of Upachara Viruddha. And when we see the Upachara Viruddha according to today's understanding, then we can see ice creams at the end of the meals. I wonder general functions of the public, other public, let them do this sort of practices. But even in the conferences organized by the Ayurvedic fraternity, I wonder even there also their ice cream is served after the meals. So that is what very astonishing thing. We are not taking this serious. This sort of practices itself defines why I told no that we Ayurvedic people are not following Ayurveda that much as it is needed for us also. So ice creams at the end of meals is Upachara Viruddha. Consuming buttermilk immediately after the intake of rich with ghee. So these are all coming under the class of Upachara Viruddha. Paka Viruddha, preparation of food having bad or rotten odor is one of the example. Paka Viruddha. So we see Paka in Mrudu Paka, Kara Paka and Madhyama Paka and Sneha Paka Lakshanas. Even that Paka variety should be also seen, should be observed in our day-to-day preparation of food recipes. Because Ati Dagda or Karapaka Ahara should not be taken. First of all, they should not be taken to the level of that much level of Paka preparation. But if at all it is prepared, we should not consume that. If it is done, then it becomes Paka Viruddha. So this putrefied food takes a long time to digest, leaving behind Ama Visha. So Paka Viruddha need to be more careful. And here are some of the examples which come under the class of Paka Viruddha is barbecued foods, packed foods used beyond the expiry date. Okay, these are all under the class of Paka Viruddha. Next is the Samyoga Viruddha, that is Amla with Dugdha. Amla Dravyas with Dugdha is Samyoga Viruddha because Amla Dravyas are going to cause milk fermentations. So it's not advisable to have that one. And Samyoga Viruddha, when you are going to see in today's practices, processed foods, refined flours, packaged foods, fruits, and meats. These are all the processed foods, refined flours, packaged foods, fruits, and meats. Fruits and meats I told already. So they come under the Samyoga Viruddha. Mamsa and potatoes combination is also Samyoga Viruddha. Hamburgers and fries is again Samyoga Viruddha. Eggs and toast are Samyoga Viruddha. Bread and butter, starch and fat, they are Samyoga Viruddha. Melon with other fruits, tea with iron-rich food, menthol and coke. So which is highly practiced by today's younger generation, come under Samyoga Viruddha itself only. So why? Because it becomes a Samyoga because requirement for digestion, that is protein and acidic mediums, whereas carbohydrates and fats are alkali mediums. So that is why these combinations are going to cause. So if it is a combination of proteins and carbohydrates, see, proteins require acidic medium, whereas proteins define, whereas carbohydrates and fats come under alkaline medium. So if you are having a combination of two, then it becomes for the Jata Agni or the Jatara to adjust with the digestion process. That is why combination is not advisable here. So here is the list of acidic and alkaline foods. So acidic foods of having more than 25%. Okay, highly acidic and highly alkaline foods. See, liver and other organ meats are highly acidic. Eggs is acidic. Wine, yogurt with active cultures, buttermilk, including buttermilk, pancakes and biscuits, sour ice cream, sour creams, or most fermented foods and aged cheeses. Some vitamin B supplements. All these are highly acidic. Whereas highly alkaline foods are banana, chocolates, figs, mineral water, orange juices, potatoes, spinach, watermelon, and dandelion greens are highly alkaline foods. So we need to follow some rules in combining the foods, because before going into the do's, I'll just brief you what are the things we should not do. Acidic foods with carbohydrates or acid foods with proteins, concentrated proteins with concentrated carbohydrates, starch, two concentrated proteins at the same meal, fats with proteins, sweet fruits with the protein, starches or acidic fruits, many concentrated starches in a meal, melons should not be combined with any other foods. So these are the things which we are not supposed to do. Okay. So what are the things we need to do for combining the foods? Acid fruits may be used with subacid fruits. Subacid fruits may be used with sweet fruits. or salads combine very well with proteins or starches. Now, this is a chart of a combination of food combining. That's just a common thing what I have done here, but you can do according to your requirement or the foods that are available at your areas and all those things. Now, one more schematic representation of the food and protein. Vegetables and protein is good thing to protein and foods is not a good thing to be combined. Vegetables and starch is very good to be combined, whereas starch and fruits. So you should be more cautious regarding the fruits when you are going to combine rather than vegetables. Vegetables can be combined with either with proteins or starches. So they are always good. So next comes the Hrd Viruddha. As we progress into the list of Viruddhas, these are very less practiced or less unaware even by the doctors also. Hrd Viruddha, what are the things we need to consider as a Hridaya Viruddha, Hrd Viruddha? So any food which is not pleasant to the taste or Deha is called as Hrd Viruddha. Because if you go along with the taste, we cannot justify the word Hrd Viruddha here. Because everyone will consume what is more tasty for them. So that is also not permissible to the extent. So palatability and liking for food plays a major role in appetite and digestion to some extent, but not for all the food varieties. So Hrd Viruddha in current scenario, if you are going to see, in case of Krusha Purusha, consuming meat, though not liked by him, is necessary to build up muscles and to provide him strength. So Krusha Purusha, though they may not like meat, but it is advisable for them because it helps in build up of muscles and to provide him strength. So again, you have to prepare that person mentally and advise him to take the food, or a replacement of meat equivalent to in the vegetarian, you have to advise for them. So this is a Hitahara for the person, it is Hrd Viruddha as it is not liked by the person. And next very important is Sampat Viruddha. Food articles which are immature, over mature or petrified. So Sampat Viruddha, if fruit is not completely mature, then it becomes Sampat Viruddha because completely ripened food only will have all sorts of qualities. Even vegetables also, if it is completely ripened, then only it will have all sorts of qualities. Then only it is advisable or permissible to be taken. Whereas when it comes to the question of these things, because immaturity or over mature or petrified foods causes ama, so Sampat Viruddha, if that vegetable or fruit comes under that class of immaturity or over maturity or even petrified, comes under the class of Sampat Viruddha itself. Next example is Vidhi Viruddha, because Vidhi is a common process that needs to be followed. If it is not followed, then it becomes very Viruddha. So food taken against the rules of against the rules of Ayurveda. Why I am going to say Ayurveda? Because it is a medical science which speaks more about healthy lifestyles, which speaks about first majority of first objectivity is swasthasya swastharakshanam. So a general word is taken here as a rules of Ayurveda, because rules of Ayurveda includes everything, particularly for the Swastha Purusha. So I have taken it as a Ayurveda. So to maintain good health is what they been suggested by the Ayurveda. So if it is not followed, then it becomes Vidhi Viruddha. So we will see one by one what are those things. Vidhi Viruddha in current scenario. So violation of the following. These are the things that are being advised by the classics, that food should be in this proportionate or in this quality, etc. Whatever it may be. Things you need to follow when you are having a ahara. So if you don't follow this, then it becomes Vidhi Viruddha. So what are the things that are important one to have a food? Ushnam, Snigdam, Matravat, Jirna, Viryam, Aviruddham, Ishtadeshe, Ishta Sarvopakaranam, Na Ati Drutam, Na Ati Vilambitam, Ajalpam, Ahasan, Tanmana Bunjita, Atmanam, Abhisamikshaha Samyak. So in this Matra, Jirna, Virya, Aviruddha, okay, all these things in the previous Viruddhaharas we have gone through. But what I have seen nowadays, more practice is Ati Drutam and Ati Vilambitam. Ati Drutam, because of our fast lifestyle, all those things, and improper lifestyle, that is the reason we tend to have food in a very hurry. And it is becoming a more common in our day-to-day life. Okay, once in a while, if you are having food so fastly, that is different. But daily we are waking up late, and again it is as it is time to go to schools, colleges, or even for workplace. we eat in a hurry. So that sort of practice is seen more. Ati Vilambita at the night time is seen more because you are more relaxed watching TV or watching your mobile. So you don't know how much of time you have consumed in having that food. So you are more involved in watching TV or in chit chatting or talking. So that has led to Ati Vilambina practice also. So Ajalpam Asan, and it has become a more passion to talk and eat more. So complete silence is also very advisable where your blood is concentrating more on the amashaya for the digestion purpose. Tanmana Bunjita is has been totally neglected by everyone. So that is also being to be seen or taught to our patients a lot. Okay. So this any one of these or all of these violation comes under the class of Vidhi Viruddha. So some of the vital points just I want to share regarding the things you need to remember for having a proper food. So there should be at least 6 hours interval between the meals. So when you check, you can have a breakfast at 8, you can have lunch in the 2, and again dinner at the 8 o'clock. So it is absolutely 6 hour at least approximately. But anyhow, even though it is advisable to have a 6 hours interval, but if there is a sense of complete digestion, you can have food earlier to this also. But anyhow, you need to keep a proper gap between breakfast, meals, and lunch and dinner. And we are not supposed to drink water 1 hour before or 1 hour after the eating because it is going to hamper the Jatra Agni, and even it may lead to the a dilution of enzymes that are going to be helpful in digestion purpose. And do not eat many times in one meal, many items in one meal. So your meal should not have a too many combination mixture of items because many items is going to define different varieties of nutrition. Again, one to one, there will be a reaction, all those things. Then that is also going to cause the things. And do not mix fruits with your meal because substitute one of the meals with the fruit or eat them between the meals. So not to mix the fruits with the meal. Now we are going to see in most of the dishes where you are going to see, particularly North Indian dishes, we are going to see there is a combination of fruits in them. So for that region of people, it may be Satmya, but when it comes to the question of southern part of in India, it is not going to be Satmya. So that indulging in having such variety of dishes is not also good for longer duration. And there should be at least 2 hours before the last meal and going to bed. So you should have ahara 2 hours before going to bed, so that it is going to lead to the proper digestion. At least you should not sleep immediately after having food. So sleeping in a daytime, especially immediately after meal, is a very harmful. Sleeping in a daytime, diva swapna and having food are very dangerous always. And do not read newspaper or watch the TV while eating, because I told in the previous itself as a Tanmana Bunjita is advised more. So do not eat too fast or too slow, as I Nati Drutam Nati Vilambitam already I told you. Now Dosha Viruddha is one more very important one. We need to be more cautious about that. So utilization of food having qualities similar to aggravated of dosha is very important. So this becomes a dosha viruddha because already food having the prakopa of that or vatakara ahara, and there is a vata prakriti, then it becomes dosha viruddha itself only, and it causes further increase of that particular dosha leading to vriddhavastha. And when we see in current scenario the dosha viruddha, consumption of cheese, burger, pizzas among children, these are all kapha kara ahara, and always a balaka is a kapha prakriti or kapha pradhana purusha. So that is why this is dosha viruddha. Consumption of dadi at nights, consumption of moong dal by emaciated person or old person traveling long distances. See, a old person is always vata prakriti, and traveling for long distance is again vata prakopaka, and obese person doing sedentary work. So kapha and sedentary work is kapha prakopa is going to. So all this comes under the dosha viruddha. So this is a schematic representation of Samprapti of a Viruddhahara. So Viruddhahara directly it may lead to Raktavisheshan. Suddenly in some cases it may happen. Very rarest of the rarest thing, leading to death. It may not be immediate death, but it will slowly move towards the death. And Viruddhahara, if it is converted to Ama, then again Ama is understood in two ways. That is Amavisha leading to Agni Mandata, whereas Amavisha again leads to Alasaka and Visuchika. You know, there is again a different Sampraptis for Alasaka and Visuchika, but the common for these two Amavisha is Ama itself only. Whereas Agni Mandya may leads to uh, obesity and vitiation of chalans, and that leads to Garavisha. So it acts as a Garavisha and it leads to the again a death is there. So this is a schematic or the Samprapti of a Viruddhahara Sevana that is going to hamper in our body. So these are the list of diseases that are given by Charaka that leads to that are caused because of Viruddhahara. So now what I want to say is that we need to add in our OPD or at the IPD level whenever, because these are the commonest cases that are being uh, attended by the public. So we have to add one more column or one more word in their ahara list of ahara practices, that whether they are consumed these aharas or not, viruddharas, whether they are indulging in or not. So it is not mandatory that all these diseases are caused because of viruddhara itself, but definitely viruddhara will be one of the causes for these diseases. So it will be a more helpful to educate that person not to indulge in that thing. So these are the list: Shandata, Andya, Visarpa, Jalodhara, Vispota, Unmada, Bagandhara, Mursha, Mada, Atmana, Galagraha, Panduroga, Ama, Kilasa, Kushta, Grahani, Shota, Amlapitta, Jwara, Penasa, and Santana Dosha and Mrityu. See, among all these things, what I want to suggest is that there is a high prevalence of anorectal disorders in recent times. There is a high prevalence of Shandata and even the Santana Dosha, that is infertility. There is a high prevalence of Panduroga nowadays. There is a high prevalence of Amlapitta. There is a high prevalence of IBS, that is Grahani. Okay, even though direct Kushta may not have occurred, but even there is a high prevalence of other skin disorders nowadays. So somewhere I feel that a shift of our food habits in the last 30-40 years has led in a very high surge in these sorts of diseases. That is what I feel. So added a research in these aspects, then it could be a more beneficial to educate the masses with more authentic data, so that Viruddhahara plays a very important role in causing so many diseases. So these are the lists, and when you try to compare the symptoms with the modern of considering the diseases, so systems that are more disturbed because of Viruddhahara, GIT or respiratory tracts or even CNS or cutaneous. So what we are going to see in GIT is in modern as allergic reactions is nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, or wind bloating or acidity. So that is what presented in Ayurveda as Arochaka, Chardi, Ajirana, Admana, Grahani. Whereas what you are going to see even in what you are going to see even in Ayurveda is the same thing. And when it comes to the question of respiratory system, rhinitis, laryngeal edema, or even asthma can be correlated with pinasa, kantaroga, or swasa. And the CNS, you are going to see the migraine, anxiety, or depression or headache correlated to Unmada and Mada. And in cutaneous urticaria, dermatitis, or angioedema. So Pinasa, Kilasa, and Kushta is what we can compare with. So they most of the times they go with the allergic reactions, and they give the symptomatic treatment. But somewhere hidden, Viruddhahara has played a lot of role in causing those diseases. So there are some exceptions of Viruddharas like Kshirapaka, that is Lasuna Kshirapaka, or Mulika with Dugdha, or honey with Ushnajala during Vamana. During Vamana, Ushnajala Sevana, Ushnajala with Madhu is advisable. So there we cannot neglect it as a Viruddhahara, and you cannot advise it. It is not. It should not happen. And some of the other factors that play a key role in reducing the effect of Viruddhahara. This is very because majority of the times, particularly this age group of 20 to 40, or say somewhere between 15 to 35, 40, they say that I am consuming all these things, nothing is happening to me. They may justify the act of Viruddhara Sevana just because unaware of those things. Why? Because I'm going to tell these are the factors that are going to reduce the effect of Viruddhara. So, Satmya tu alpataya va api deepta agni tarunaha cha snigdha vyayama balinam viruddham vitatam bhavet. So, viruddham vitatam bhavet is nothing but the reduction of effect of Viruddhara because of these factors. What are those? A person having good Agni may not sense or may not feel or may not be hampered by Viruddhara. Adding of dravyas to nullify the adverse effect. Example, Tulsi. So combinations, sometimes the combinations of food are also going to affect the Viruddha effect. And some small quantities of Viruddhara in a long run becomes Okasatmya. So sometimes what happens, we'll be consuming Viruddhara in a very minute quantity. So for a long period of practices, it might have become Okasatmya, or following Vidhi as a prescribed in Ayurveda. So whatever the Vidhi that has been prescribed in Ayurveda, if you are going to follow, then it is also going to be. Or having antidotes of cardamom in coffee, ghee, and black pepper in potatoes, though, or proper chewing or use of takra, or eating till one third of the stomach, all this. So even Tarunavastha, remember Tarunavastha itself is a beneficial one. It is a avastha where effect of Viruddhara is seen very less at that age. Once you cross that Tarunavastha, you may sense the all the Viruddhara's effects later on once the body starts to degenerate. Or even Snigdha person having a very good build, or the person who is doing more Vyayama daily, or by build itself only more stronger. So these persons or these conditions will definitely reduce the effect of Viruddhara. So we may not sense, but anyhow, we need to educate the public, or we need to be aware that anyhow Viruddharas are going to cause the diseases whatever have been listed in the class. Now, intolerance or allergy is what we can understand because of the Viruddhara. It is defined as altered reactivity or changed reaction in body. It includes development of immunity to infection, marked reaction to certain foodstuffs or pollens, insect stings, and etc. But on a long run, it is not advisable. So the common chikitsa that is being advised by our acharyas is that विरुद्धशनजान् रोगान् प्रतिहन्ति विवेचनं वमनं शमनं च एव पूर्वं वा हितासेवनम्. Vamana, Virechana, Shamana, and Hita Ahara Sevana is a common line of treatment for Viruddhara Janita Vyadhi. If it is not there, then again, according to Vyadhi, you have to need to go for the treatment. So, with that, I would like to conclude my presentation where it says if what in this picture it depicts what goes in here is not processed properly here, then putrefaction illness will result because all illness starts in the bowel. So that is why we should be more aware regarding the aspects of Viruddhahara and even the fundamental concepts that have been told in Ayurveda, particularly by the Charaka. Remember, all my dear learners, listeners, and even the teachers, some of them teachers may be there always. That what I tell to my student is that Ayurveda is for first for us. Ayurveda first हम लोगों के लिए जो कुछ भी स्वस्थ रक्षण के लिए आयुर्वेद में बताया गया है उन चीजों को हमको अडॉप्ट करना है पहली बार. बाद में स्टूडेंट्स को, बाद में पेशेंट्स को बोलना है. इट इज नॉट ऑलवेज मेंट टू टेल फॉर अदर्स. सो विद दैट मैसेज आई thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity and sharing my views. And with that quote, learning samhitas is like embryo growing, and learning syllabus is like making a doll. So samhita adhyayana is very important. Samhita adhyayana depicts just like a garbha vruddhi. So garbh jaise with life it is going to grow. That means if you are learning samhitas, you will get the knowledge. That means you are getting the life. And syllabus learning is just like a making doll. It doesn't have any sort of life. So with that quote of giving importance for learning Samhita Adhyayana importance, I thank organizers for giving me an opportunity. Any sort of doubts or discussions is welcome. Thank you, madam.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब, एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी आपका प्रेजेंटेशन था। आपने बहुत सारी अच्छी अच्छी बातों को बड़ा सरलता से सहजता से आपने शेयर किया है, तो मुझे लगता है कि वो बहुत सारे लोगों को एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी तरीके से वो काम में आएगा। और सबसे पहले आपने जो खुद स्वयं करने के लिए कहा, ये भी बिल्कुल बहुत सही बात है कि हमें सबसे पहले अपने जीवन में उतारना चाहिए और उसके बाद ही पेशेंट्स को बताने में थोड़ी आवाज में मुझे लगता है एक अलग सा इको भी बनता है जब हम खुद करते
Yeah,
हैं ना,
madam.
तो
हाँ, madam.
ऐसे मुझे लगता है कि अच्छा रहता है। और पेशेंट उसके ऊपर हमारी आवाज की एक रणक से जल्दी से प्रेरित भी होता है। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब। और बहुत सारे लोगों ने भी सराहा है। डॉक्टर अलका मेहता ने कहा है बहुत बढ़िया है। और कुछ क्वेश्चन इसमें डॉक्टर साहब आए हैं, इसी से ले ले।
Okay, madam. We can take.
जी, डॉक्टर सुधा जी ने भी वेरी इंफॉर्मेटिव नॉलेजेबल सेशन है उसके बारे में कहा है। डॉक्टर उषा होला पूछ रही है, इज मधुर रस प्रधान बटर मिल्क एसिडिक?
Buttermilk, Madhurarasan, because whatever buttermilk may be a product of dadi, but when you are going to consider it for the purpose of buttermilk, again it is going to change its state. सो मधुरता जितना दुग्ध में रहता है उतना दधी में नहीं रहता है, जितना दधी में रहता है उतना तक्र में नहीं रहता है. सो इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी कंसिडर एज ए कंप्लीटली मधुरा आहार सेवन. सो इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू कॉज एसिडिटी, बट it is highly advisable in as a form of takrarishta, even in grahani or even in arsha vyadhi also. So it is considered more as a alkaline, not as a acidic one.
जी डॉक्टर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। डॉक्टर उषा जी ने एक और भी क्वेश्चन पूछा है, कैन कॉफी आइदर टी बी टेकन एट द एंड ऑफ द फूड?
Usually, it is not permitted. Coffee and tea are they are actually considered as a supplement food. Okay, and they will be also having a combination of milk and even sugar also. So anyhow, already you add a food uh, that has occupied the space of your GIT, and the amount of energy that is going to be spent by the Agni in digesting them is again it will be deviated. तो चाय या कॉफी पीना तुरंत खाना खाने के बाद इज नॉट एडवाइज, बिकॉज इट इज गोइंग टू कॉज द अति मात्रता ऑल्सो एड ऑन एज ए, बिकॉज इट इज नॉट ए सिंपल प्लेन वाटर. सो उसमें दूध रहता है, शक्कर रहता है, तो अगेन इट बिकम्स हेवी फॉर डाइजेशन, सो इट इज नॉट एडवाइजेबल. So you may not see a lot of difficulties, but definitely it is going to hamper your digestion also.
जी जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन डॉक्टर प्रीति का है, सर व्हाट इज द बेस्ट टाइम टू टेक फ्रूट?
Fruits is actually seasonal fruits actually, and on empty stomach in between meals is advised actually. So instead of breakfast, you can have fruits, or in between meals also you can have food. But whatever the fruits you are going to have should be according to the seasons, not the stored one or not the fruits from other regions. So we cannot specify the time period for the fruits, but we have to take into the consideration of your Koshta and Agni when you are having a fruits, so that you can have a more benefit.
जी जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब। डॉक्टर प्रदीप जी ने भी आपके लेक्चर की बहुत सराहना की है। वेरी नाइस एंड इंफॉर्मेटिव सेशन। हमारे रिस्पेक्टेड स्पीकर है, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब। आप
Thank
बीच बीच
you.
में आ जाते हैं हमारी उत्साहवर्धन करने के लिए। और आपने बहुत अच्छा लेक्चर डिलीवर किया था। मैं सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को भी कहना चाहूंगी कि आप प्रदीप सर का लेक्चर सुनना चाहिए, अपने यूट्यूब चैनल पे अपलोडेड है। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन है डॉक्टर कुलदीप भारद्वाज जी का। मैम, इज देयर एनी बुक बाय विच वी कैन नो व्हाट फूड एंड फ्रूट्स वी कैन टेक इन अ वात पित्त कफ दोष? कोई बुक डॉक्टर साहब अगर एडवाइस
Right now, I am not having any that sort of list of books,
ओके
but I request the Ayurveda fraternity to anybody can come up with that list of books. We have as a list of books particularly related to drugs. Fruits का अलग book मिलता है आपको शायद, और या vegetables का मिलता है, या common general drugs का मिलेगा. पर एज ए कॉमन रेसिपी या फूड के दौरान हम कैसे ले सकते हो, ऐसे इंफॉर्मेटिव बुक अभी नहीं है, मेरे को तो पता नहीं है. If at all, if I come to know by some other means of sources, I'll just share to madam. You can have information from madam itself only.
जी जी धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब. और
Thank you.
उन्होंने लेक्चर की सराहना भी की है. डॉक्टर पूजा बता रही है, पूछ रही है, सर आई सो ए आयुर्वेदिक डॉक्टर प्रिस्क्राइब फ्लैक्स सीड विथ कर्ड intake in Kampavad case. Is this a Viruddhahara?
No, sometimes what happens, madam, Viruddhahara as a part of treatment is advisable. So you cannot consider that it is a Viruddhahara we should not give. As I already quoted one example of Madhu with Ushna Jala in Vamana, what we give. It is a Viruddha, but it is needed there to complete the process. So it is advisable. And one more example that is widely practiced nowadays is Swarna Prashana. Swarna Madhu Prashana is more widely practiced nowadays across all India. As you know, it is a Samyoga Viruddha, where we have shown that Madhu and Gruta are Samyoga Viruddha, but we give in a children. That too, a newborn baby we give, because we are going to naturally develop the immunities in the children. So it is going to act as a chikitsa. Whenever there is a combination, whenever there is a practice of Viruddhahara, as a part of chikitsa, it is advisable. So it doesn't become so wrong there. You can give, madam, no problem there. You are giving means you are giving it as a chikitsa only, not as a Viruddha more.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब. डॉक्टर सेलिन फिगर और डॉक्टर अनीता कौशिक दोनों ने प्रेजेंटेशन की सराहना की है. और डॉक्टर सुधा जी ने अच्छा, वो तो वॉइस की कुछ क्लियरेंस थी. ओके. डॉक्टर उषा जी ने पहले पूछा था, कैन बटर मिल्क बी टेकन एट द एंड ऑफ द ऑयली फूड?
It is not advisable, because butter is also it is having a rancidity रहता है उसमें भी, और oil में भी ये रहता है. So they are not going to mix up both. So it is going to do the Shodha Varodha.
बटर मिल्क छाछ, छाछ के लिए
Charge और oil वो क्या होता है मैडम दोनों, because oil is again is not going to combine with the buttermilk properly. So it is going to cause the Shroto Avarodha. Okay, to what quantity of oil you are going to mix is also going to matter. If it is just what happens, some areas I have seen a recipe where buttermilk is prepared as a sambar, जैसे हम prepare करते हैं ना वैसे उसको prepare करते हैं. Automatically when you are going to prepare in that way, oil is also going to be added. So it is small traces is going to be not hampering that much. But if it is in huge quantity, it is not going to be advisable.
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर. डॉक्टर सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन पूछा था, कैन आइसक्रीम बी टेकन एट बिगिनिंग ऑफ द फूड?
No, not at all, madam. Even simple plain water is not advised. Ice cream तो बहुत बड़ी हो गया है वो, because ice cream going by its temperature, that is physical temperature, it is totally shita. Before meals means you can understand the Agni is more stronger there, because the body is craving for food, and suddenly if you are going to have ice cream, it is going to hamper the Jataragni. तो जाटराग्नि को शांत करने के बाद में आप खाना खाए तो ऑटोमेटिकली इंडाइजेशन हो जाता है. सो इवन प्लेन वाटर इज नॉट एट ऑल एडवाइज्ड इवन इन क्लासिक्स. फॉरगेट अबाउट द आइसक्रीम. सो इट इज नॉट एडवाइजेबल.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब. डॉक्टर सुधा जी ने लिखा है, थैंक यू सर फॉर द डिलीवरिंग अ नाइस लेक्चर. माय क्वेश्चन अकॉर्डिंग टू आयुर्वेदा, मधुर रस इज इंडिकेटेड इन स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द मील ऑफ अ मील. शुड वी टेक डेजर्ट और स्वीट डिश बिफोर मील?
Madhura rasa is just to trigger the taste buds, madam, actually, and not as a quantity wise use should be taken. So this question I used to get many a times whenever I used to explain to my students. But it is usually what happens, common for everybody. Common for everybody, Madhura rasa is a taste instigator. So classically they have advised to take Madhura rasa first. But quantity you should take into consideration that time. So if it is taken in a very, very less quantity, it is no problem. And further, it is going to instigate the Jataragni, thereby leading to easy digestion. So it is being advised in the beginning itself only. And in some parts of practices, I see they are going to give sweet at the last. So that also I have seen as a tradition part of that. But anyhow, they are having a Oka Satmya towards that and all. They may be accustomed to that. But Madhura Rasa is advised in the beginning itself in a very small quantity to ignite the taste buds. That's all.
बहुत बढ़िया आपने एक्सप्लेन कर दिया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब। डॉक्टर अजय जी पूछ रहे हैं कि सर थैंक यू फॉर योर नॉलेज बूस्टिंग सेशन। Alternative fasting can include in any type of the Viruddha Ahar or what?
No, alternating fasting, sometimes it may fit in a class of Avastha Viruddha, but it should not become a common practice. So Avastha Viruddha aata hai, and fasting is also advised in our classics to at least give a time gap for complete channelizations of shotas. So it should not become a common practice, but now and then practice is advised because it is more beneficial in triggering all your nerves or triggering all your shotas. So it is advised, but not as a common practice.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब। डॉक्टर अंबिका सिंह और डॉक्टर पूजा ने सेशन की सराहना की है और धन्यवाद किया है। डॉक्टर हेमंत पटेल सर कैन वी एडजस्ट सॉरी नहीं कैन वी एडवाइज पेशेंट ड्रिंक lukewarm water early in the morning?
For patient, it is advised, but what type of patient you should consider that. वो उनका डिसीज क्या है वो सब चीज ध्यान में देख के एडवाइस करना पड़ता है बट कॉमनली एवरी डे प्लेन लुक और वाटर इज एडवाइज्ड फॉर एवरीवन नॉट जस्ट फॉर द पेशेंट even for common practices is also very very good but it should be in a less quantity and it should be taken in a proper way.
जी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब। सीमा पूछ रही है सर ओक सत्व इज गुड और बैड? व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन रिगार्डिंग दिस?
No, Okasatmya, we cannot say it as a good or bad. It has already accustomed to our body. Then automatically it is not. साथ में हो गया तो उसका उससे कोई problem नहीं होने वाला है. So we cannot define whether it is good or bad. But in some conditions, we can consider it as a type of chikitsa. चिकित्सा के तौर पर हम उसको slowly all our vaccination and immunization what we are going to give is Okasatma itself only, but we give it in a more single dose and all those things. So particularly Swarna Prashana, what we give daily, because it is advised for a newborn baby up to 4 months daily or 6 months daily or even to 1 year daily. So it becomes Okasatma and that is going to cause the development of antibodies to fight against antigens. So it is very difficult to keep in a class of good or bad. But anyhow, until unless whether it is Viruddhahara or whether it is Satmya Ahara, which is not going to cause any harm to the body, we can consider it, no problem.
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर डॉक्टर क्रिस्टीना क्रिस्टीना दत्ता पूछ रही है सर व्हेन इज द प्रॉपर टाइम टू टेक मिल्क? व्हाट इज द प्रॉपर टाइम?
This time is very difficult to define because milk, only man is consuming milk till his death. Other animals do not consume milk after they develop. So again, we have a very lot of questions or doubts regarding how much good it is to have milk throughout our life and how much it is required to have since it is a highly rich in calcium, highly rich in proteins and even very heavy for digestion also if it is taken in large quantity. To fix its time is very very difficult but anyhow on empty stomach it is equivalent to having a proper food or a complete food. So it is left to because as we Ayurvedic people we should be aware that we cannot standardize or generalize for everybody to everybody should take drink milk at 8 o'clock. We cannot standardize like that because region to region there is a variation in dosha, region to region there is a variation in prakriti, desha there is a difference in according to vaya there is a difference in dosha also. So we cannot advise generally that इतने time पे आपको पीना है इतने time पे नहीं. It entirely depends on Agni. It entirely depends on the Koshta. Matra depends on Koshta. and time depends on the Agni. So Agni is going to define the digestion time. So based on that, you can advise. But we cannot generalize. Not only drinking of milk, many of the things we cannot generalize or standardize like that for everyone common. Like Charaka told, Pursham Pursham Viksha Tato Anantaram Aushadam Dhiyam. It is not just for only medicine. For everything, we need to consider that. Individualistic approach is very, very important.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। डॉक्टर क्रिस्टीना, आपने हैंड राइज किया है, आप कुछ पूछना भी चाह रहे हैं या वैसे ही है?
नहीं मैम, मुझे कुछ पूछना था इसीलिए। सर पहली बात तो थैंक यू वेरी मच सेशन के लिए। और सर मुझे बोलना था कि अनुपदेश में फिर हम कब लेने बोलेंगे? रात को तो आपने लिखा था कि मतलब आपके स्लाइड में था कि रात को मिल्क नहीं लेना चाहिए।
हाँ, okay, madam. But again, when it comes to Desa, we need to see according to Desa. So sometimes some food intake will depend on Vaya, Vidhi, Virya, Desa, Kala, Prakriti also. So we have to consider according to that, and we need to change. We cannot generalize. I told you. Similarly, for Anupadesha also, if it is a common food which is to be taken, you can take as it is kapha pradhana, and they might have been more accustomed to that because every food they are going to prepare with more of coconut oil itself only. उनको साथ में हुआ रहता है, तो उनको एडवाइस भी कर सकते हैं उसके उनके यहाँ टाइम के हिसाब से. It may not cause that much differences even if it is practiced since their childhood.
ओके सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you.
डॉक्टर उदय जी पूछ रहे हैं, इन त्रिदोष कर विरुद्ध आहार which kind of पाचन मेडिसिन?
हेतल मैडम, आप अनम्यूट करिए, आपका वॉइस नहीं आ रहा है।
अच्छा, सॉरी। डॉक्टर उदय जी पूछ रहे हैं, इन त्रिदोष कर विरुद्ध आहार which kind of पाचन medicine can be given?
त्रिदोषकर.
जी जी।
त्रिदोषकर pachana medicines, usually what we know, commonest medicine what we use is Chitrakadi Vati, which is commonly given for all sorts of ama pachana, and even Hingvachadi Churna is also going to be more beneficial. And the target will be always your kapha only, because anyhow pitta you can trigger very easily, even vata also can bring normally also. But majority of the times what we advise in ama pachana is generally Hingvachadi Churna, or even a simple plain Chitrakadi Vati is more than sufficient for the ama pachana.
जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब। डॉक्टर हेमंत पटेल जी सबसे लास्ट में आपका धन्यवाद कर रहे हैं, और सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स की ओर से मैं विश्वारित परिषद से भी मैं आपका इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे बहुत बहुत हार्दिक धन्यवाद करती हूँ, और इतने जबरदस्त प्रश्न पूछने के लिए सारे ही पार्टिसिपेंट्स का भी बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ कि जैसे होता है ना कि एक बहुत अच्छे लेक्चर के बाद एक क्वेश्चन आंसर का सेशन भी एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी है, कि जिसमें आपसे और बहुत सारी हमने इंफॉर्मेशन फिर से प्राप्त कर ली, और नो डाउट बहुत सारे लोगों के लिए ये फलदायी रहेगी, एज अ डॉक्टर भी, एज अ स्टूडेंट भी, और एज अ बहुत सारे नॉन मेडिकल पर्सन्स भी इसको कई बार देखते हैं, तो उनके लिए भी कि किस विषय में सोचना कैसे चाहिए। डॉक्टर अलका, आप कुछ पूछना चाह रहे हैं?
यस मैम, नमस्कार मैम। मैम मैंने लिखा भी था मैम, मैं सर से ये पूछना चाह रही थी।
वैसे मैं पूरी कोशिश करती हूँ।
हाँ जी मैम, कोई बात नहीं।
पूछने का मुझे सॉरी रहेगा।
हाँ जी मैम, मेरा सवाल था कि हमें मधुर, अम्ल, लवण, कटु, तिक्त, कषाय, इन रसों के हिसाब से कौन मधुर रस पहले लेना चाहिए, ये तो सर ने बता दिया, उसके बाद वाले रस अकॉर्डिंगली बता दीजिए।
No, madam, that we bole na, we cannot generalize for everything, but it always starts from Madura itself only. Again, we cannot follow like Madura, Amla, Lavana, Katu, Tikta, Kasha, and every time हमारा खाना क्या है, सभी 6 रस रहना चाहिए ऐसा हम बोलते, पर रहते नहीं. So usually what happens, if you are going to follow with Amla and Lavana, and then later on it becomes. So Madhura Rasa is the only one rasa where a complete food recipe is prepared from one rasa only. बाकी जो भी combinations, बाकी जो भी आते आहार पदार्थ, they are all combination of lavana alone you cannot take, katu alone you cannot take, because it is not going to taste anything if you are not going to add lavana in that. तो मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि मधुर रस सिर्फ पहले क्यों कहा गया है कि वो एक ही रस है जिसको हम आहार पदार्थ में जब भी हम प्रिपेयर करते हैं सिर्फ वो एक रस ही चाहिए, पर बाकी जो भी रस है वो दे कम अंडर द कॉम्बिनेशन. बट एनी हाउ lavana and amla will come next place. Later on will comes the list of katu and tikta. Kashai is very least, which is not having that much of role in food recipes.
यस सर, यस सर, थैंक यू सर. सर एक और भी क्वेश्चन है सर. आजकल जैसे होता है कि हमें 1 ग्राम प्रोटीन पर बॉडी वेट लेना चाहिए, पर आयुर्वेद के हिसाब से अगर हम दाल चावल दूध दही सब कुछ भी लेते हैं तो हमारा 1 ग्राम प्रोटीन पर बॉडी, जैसे 60 वेट है तो 60 ग्राम नहीं हो पाता, वो कैसे पॉसिबल है?
No. This is what we are feeling. That is what where we are feeling, because we cannot generalize according to modern. तो मॉडर्न क्या होता है, हाइट वेट के हिसाब से वो बोल देते कि दिस मच ऑफ हाइट एंड दिस मच ऑफ वेट, पर्सन शुड हैव दिस मच ऑफ वेट. तो उधर क्या होता है कि दे आर गोइंग टू कैलकुलेट दैट आर दोस थिंग्स आर टोल्ड फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ आइडल बॉडी वेट. जिनका आइडल बॉडी वेट कितना रहता है उसके हिसाब से उन्होंने कहा है. बट इफ आइडियल, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ आई टेक मेरा और आपका आइडियल बॉडी वेट मानते हैं कि 55 है, बट हम दोनों का प्रकृति अलग है, हम दोनों का अग्नि अलग है, हम दोनों का अवस्था अलग है, मे बी समटाइम्स हम दोनों का वही भी अलग हो सकता है. देन यू कैनॉट जनरलाइज लाइक दैट कि हम दोनों को, बिकॉज दोनों का आइडल बॉडी वेट 55 है, हम दोनों को 1 किलो या 100 ग्राम प्रोटीन इतना खाना चाहिए. So we are not going to get that same sort of benefit. So that concept of explanation according to modern is not going to fit according to our classics, and that is not going to work also. It is not that हम लोगों को उन्होंने जो कुछ भी बोला है उसको अपोज करना, ऐसा मतलब नहीं है. पर क्या है ना, we need to consider all these factors, so we cannot generalize that. So we may not get the एक 100 ग्राम प्रोटीन खाने से मेरे को कितना कैलोरी स्ट्रेंथ मिलता है, आपको भी उतना नहीं मिल सकता है, या आपको जितना मिलता है मेरे को नहीं मिल सकता है. सो वी कैन नॉट जनरलाइज लाइक दैट. सो द प्रोपोर्शन विल डेफिनेटली वेरी, बिकॉज so many factors are there, so many factors. The same 100 gram protein if you eat in the winter season may give something different calories. The same 100 gram protein ahara if you are going to eat in grishma ritu may give different calories, because your agni is different. It takes lot of time. ग्रीष्म ऋतु में ज्यादा लेता है डाइजेशन के लिए, शीत ऋतु में कम लेता है डाइजेशन के लिए. सो यू कैन नॉट जनरलाइज लाइक दैट. सो दिस इज व्हाट वी शुड बी ऑलवेज अवेयर ऑफ व्हेन यू आर प्रैक्टिसिंग और व्हेन यू आर टीचिंग टू आवर स्टूडेंट्स.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर. डॉक्टर पूजा ने पूछा है सर, सैंधव लवण, रॉक सॉल्ट एंड हिमालय पिंक सॉल्ट ऑल आर सेम और डिफरेंट?
No, they are different, madam. Among five lavana, Saindava lavana and rock salt are different. वो अलग अलग आते हो. They define from which region they are going to be available. कहाँ से ये मिलते हैं वो define करता है, and definitely they will be having the गुण from which soil they are going to be. So they are not going to be same.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर. लक्ष्मी नारायण जी पूछ रहे हैं, विषम मिश्रण ऑफ हनी एंड घी इज नॉट विरुद्ध आहार अकॉर्डिंग माय नॉलेज. प्लीज लेट मी नो व्हाट इज रॉन्ग.
No, yes, you are absolutely right, sir. Vishama Mishrana of honey and ghee is not Viruddha, but Mishrana of honey and ghee itself is a Viruddha. So क्या करते हैं हम, सम मात्रा में किए तो वो सम विरुद्ध होता है, मात्रा विरुद्ध हो जाता है, साथ ही साथ संयोग विरुद्ध हो जाता है. पर हम जब इसको हम स्वर्ण प्राशन के तौर पे जब हम देते हैं, वो विषम मात्रा में देते हैं ताकि ये उतना विरुद्ध आहार ना हो, विरुद्ध आहार ना हो. सो दैट इज वाई. So you are absolutely right. Vishama Mishrana of honey and Viruddha is not a Viruddha Aahara, but Samyoga itself वो विरुद्ध इसमें आने की वजह से मात्रा विरुद्ध को हम हटा देते हो. So सिर्फ वो मात्रा विरुद्ध नहीं होता उस वक्त. So it is your answer is right, sir. तो इसलिए हमको उसको क्या करते, थोड़े प्रमाण में देते बच्चों को, ताकि वो इट एक्ट एज ए एंटीबॉडी डेवलपर. तो इम्यूनिटी इसलिए फॉर ऑल डिसीज.
बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं डॉक्टर. बहुत सारी एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन और है, ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन है सर, ले ले एक और, अभी उन्होंने अभी डाला है डॉक्टर।
For daily use, Vishahara, again, Vishahara, it's again which type of Vishahara you are going to consume, उसके हिसाब से हम दे सकते हैं. But as classically mentioned in Annaraksha Vidhi of Ashtanga Hridaya, Hema Churna is the one which can be used as an antidote daily. So that is a preparation of Swarna is advised. Hema Churna और एक दो combinations yoga Ashtanga Hridaya में Annaraksha Vidhi में अध्याय में बताया गया है. So that can be taken as a daily usage.
डॉक्टर सुधा जी पूछ रही है, सर वी कैन गो विथ बोथ वैक्सीनेशन द्रव्य एंड
Compared to vaccination, Swarna Prashana is good, and I want to take as a advantage of telling to all the listeners today that Swarna Prashana, what we are practicing nowadays, is more of boosting and more of marketing. But classically, when we go, it is best advisable for a newborn baby daily up to 1 year. तो आपको जितना डिफरेंसेस डेवलपमेंट उसमें दिखता है, उसके बाद होता है, पर डिफरेंसेस पर दिखता नहीं है. एंड बोथ वैक्सीनेशन एंड स्वर्णप्राशन कैन बी गिवन पैरेलली, नो प्रॉब्लम, बट इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू कन्विंस पेशेंट्स टू अवॉइड वैक्सीनेशन. पेशेंट्स छोड़ो, बहुत सारे आयुर्वेदिक डॉक्टर भी वो रिस्क नहीं लेना चाहते वैक्सीनेशन नहीं देने की. तो बेनिफिट्स आर मोर of Swarna Prashana compared to vaccination. Only I have seen one or two of my nearest Ayurvedic doctors who have completely given Swarna Prashana, not at all gone with the vaccination. तो वो challenges पहले हम आयुर्वेदिक डॉक्टर्स को लेना चाहिए ताकि वो हम पेशेंट तक पब्लिक तक पहुंचा सके. बट एनी हाउ, मंथली वंस स्वर्ण प्राशना for a 3 years baby, 4 years baby is not going to be that much useful. पर देना है, ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं देना, ऐसा नहीं है, पर more advised in a newborn baby up to 1 year is good. Very very vast improvement you are going to see.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब. विश्व आयुर्वेद परिषद के इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर आने के बाद इस ज्ञान यज्ञ में बहुत अच्छी आहुति समर्पित करने के लिए तहे दिल से सभी की ओर से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. और हम आपसे कुछ केस स्टडी भी सुनना चाहेंगे. मुझे ऐसे लग रहा था कि कुछ 2-3 केस स्टडीज जिसमें विरुद्धाहार को आपने कैसे काउंसलिंग करके कैसे इसको औषध दे के ठीक किया, तो मुझे लगता है कि वो बहुत एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी प्रेजेंटेशन रहेगा. और मैं फोन लेकर आपसे फिर बाद में डेट लेती हूँ, और ये
डेफिनेटली मैडम,
बहुत ज्यादा मार्गदर्शक बनेगा. पुनः आपका
डेफिनेटली मैडम
जी बहुत बहुत तहे दिल से धन्यवाद. सबसे अंत में मैं शांति मंत्र लूंगी, आप सभी म्यूट रखकर ही दोहराएंगे. ओम सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ओम शांति शांति शांति. नमो नमः. विश्व मंगल की कामना के साथ अपने अपने स्थान पर आयुर्वेद के लिए समर्पित होकर कुछ न कुछ काम कर्तृत्व कर्तव्य समझकर करते रहिए. एक दिन आयुर्वेद के लिए बहुत अच्छा दिन आना चाहिए. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. धन्यवाद डॉक्टर साहब.